Hello everyone and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia. I deeply apologize, this video will be going up later than I intended. I had some unfortunate, some unexpected business I had to take care of and I wasn't able to record a video in time. But it will be up today, so, same day, just different time. When we use the phrase sweet talking, the nuance is usually fairly negative, that you tend to imagine someone coaxing an innocent through insincere lip service, but there's nothing inherently wrong about persuasion. For example, if I sweet-talk Makina into re-examining her values, I peacefully brought her around to my way of thinking. Isn't that an admirable alternative to conflict? Granted, it's hard to feel too self-satisfied about this particular outcome. Wow. Jesus, Makina has a mouth. My God. This is awful. It's just too much. She oppresses herself flat to the earth in the explosive defense position. Makina mashes a heel down onto her posterior, snarling viciously. You can feel a slight glimmer of conscience in that girl. At least removed her boots first, but seriously. Where did she even pick up this demon marine drill instructor routine? She's impressively proficient at the verbal abuse. What's up? I wouldn't say always, but in general we engage in roughly similar activities. Hours training's a good thing. When you're actually in the field, isn't the thought, that drill instructor put me through worse than this, kind of reassuring? Approach your drills like battle and battle like your drills. There's nothing wrong with the theory. If anything's wrong about this scenario, wouldn't it be the way you swallowed my crap hook, line, and sinker? That looks pretty difficult. That sounds like that would hurt. Well, I don't think rattling knees honestly matters much either way, but busting your balls over any arbitrary little thing like they find is a drill instructor's job. The girl seems oddly professional about this, down to the strangest little details. I have to admit, this might feel a little too realistic for a game. Makina, your cell phone seems to be ringing. Makina takes out her phone from her pocket and checks the caller ID screen, but... What's wrong? Aren't you going to answer that? With those words, Makina trots off towards the nearby bicycle parking space, her phone still buzzing away. When it comes to people calling Makina's cell phone, Suamane would be by far the most likely possibility. followed by Kamini Sachi, but if the call was from either of them, she'd hardly need to be so secretive about it. Huh.
16、17、18。
Hey there, Mature, you could stop, okay? Sorry about dragging you into the game. Didn't mean to make you so miserable.
ねえユージ、なんか私ちょっと楽しくなってきたかも。
Whoops, not mean to do that. That's so. Well, good for you.
じゃあ兄じゃ
Your knees. Michiru's knees rattle violently as she continues her vigorous leaps. Depending on how you look at it, the strange smile on her face could be seen as the delirious expression of a soldier fallen prey to self-destruct despair. Well, whatever. This is pretty heavy exercise given the heat, so I suppose a bit of temporary lunacy isn't surprising. Heat and exhaustion make people go a little off in the head. However, the person in question usually doesn't realize it. Sokka once told me a story from the time she'd been shipped off to a war in South America. War, an unending heat wave and enemy bombings that came like clockwork every day wore down her nerves to the point of numbness. Eventually, the company commander was wounded in action, and a new first lieutenant who arrived from the rear took over. He was apparently a timid man, prone to trembling in his trench when the bombs began to fall. Asako found the shaking so hilarious that she spent the entire duration of the attacks cackling uproariously. The lieutenant interpreted this as a sign of derangement and promptly had her shipped back home. What's abnormal? What's normal? Depends entirely on your circumstances and perspective. Granted, I'm tempted to interpret Michiru's current actions as evidence that she's lost it, but to Michiru, this course of action might seem the most reasonable thing in the world. Okay. No. Isn't this girl just genuinely losing it? Given this heat and her clear physical exhaustion, it's possible that her brain's beginning to melt in a stew of lactic acid.
Papa.
Oh, hey Makina, what's up? Who was it?
おじいちゃまから。
Oh. Grandpa would be.
ね、私のママのパパ。
The former head of the Assyria family, eh? And what did he have to say?
ここじゃちょっと。
Oh. Okay. Alright. Let's head somewhere a little more private.
あ、ボス。
I don't know what that means. Actually, hold on just a second. Mind if I ask you a quick question before we go, Makina?
何?
What does the word Apu signify?
しんない。っていうか、そこ気になっちゃったの？膝抱えてゴロゴロ転がってるチルチルじゃなくて？
I mean, she's laughing, right?
じゃ、
Right?
いっか。
I don't know.
よくないわよ。言った。あは、もう言った。あははは。なんで笑ってる私。あははは。
Michiru seems to have botched a landing and twisted her ankle. The heat and fatigue have clearly done a number on the girl. She laughs hysterically, as though confusing pain with pleasure. Well, now what do? For the moment, Makina and I surround the girl at a distance and poke at her with a stick. Wow, that's not civilized at all. When, fortunately enough, Sachi happens to pass by. After we explain the situation, she simply says, "Leave it to me," and leaves the courtyard at a trot. Assuming the maid had run off to call an ambulance or something of the sort, we wait by Michiru's side, offering encouraging words. This continues for about 15 minutes or so. At long last, Sachi returns in pristine white maid uniform, cheerfully singing "wee woo, wee woo," and proceeds to nimbly snap together a folding aluminum stretcher. That's adorable. That's adorable. She changed clothes first? I'm certain we were both thinking it, but no one dared to voice those words. In any case, Maki and I go with the flow and entrust Michiru to her new nurse's enthusiastic care. Then offer our brave colleague a deeply sincere salute as she's rolled off of the wheeled stretcher like a cylinder of propane on a cart. Okay. Alrighty. Let's get to the brass tacks. What about that phone call?
うん。っていうか、パパには聞いてほしいのよさ。
I'll listen. That's what I'm here for.
は Makina です。
How are you doing this? This is amazing. How can I see into your mind? This is incredible.
おう、マキナか。久しぶりだな。
はい、おじいちゃま、お久しぶりです。
すまんがマキナ、もう少し大きな声で。私ももう年でな、耳がよう聞こえん。
The person on the other end of the line was Makina's grandfather. The call had been placed directly by Arisu Haruchika, the man who had led the Isuru clan before his retirement.
お前ももう知っとるとは思うが、サリナが事故にあった。
It was unfortunate news.
あれは事故なんかじゃないよ、おじいちゃま。
Oh.
事故なんだよ、マキナ。
No.
あれは不幸な事故だ。
No, that wasn't an accident. No. Makina knows better than to know that it was an accident. She was deliberately targeted.
わかりたくもないよ。
マキナよ、どうだ、そろそろ家に帰ってこんか。
今さらだよ、おじいちゃま。何を今さら言い出すんだよ。
そう怒るな。私がお前の見舞いに行かなかったのにも、それなりの理由があってだな。それに、私はお前が退院したことも、先日まで知らされておらんかった。
A faction within the branch house, afraid of Makina's potential return, must have deliberately prevented that information from reaching him. However, when a hefty check of 70 million yen was issued in Makina's name, an inquiry from the bank found its way directly to her grandfather. Only then did he learn that Makina had been released some time before.
私は、お前が未だに廃人状態のまま、長期入院していると聞かされていたんだ。
Makina struggled to find an answer to her grandfather's question.
正隆君のことをまだ気にしておるのか？
Masataka.
あれは事故だったんだ。
Was it? Was it an accident? Her father, the person she loved more than anyone else in the world, was gone. All that was left there was her nasty, high-strung mother, her grandmother, who used to stare at her with the cold eyes of someone contemplating a broken toy, her kind but willfully blind grandfather, utterly unreliable when push came to shove, and the servants who suffocated her spirit, justifying everything with the words, "I'm afraid these were my instructions." At a glance, that house offered everything a person could possibly want, but it was a hollow shell full of hollow people, a gilded prison. It was the sort of place where saying, "I want to learn how to ride a bike," would result in someone buying you a purebred horse that you hadn't even asked for. What was there to miss about a home like that? What was there?
おじいちゃま、私はもうあの家には戻りたくない。
They'd no doubt take good care of her if she returned, but only because they valued her as an asset or respected her position. Nobody there would even try to understand Makina herself as a person. Some might say, "So what? Sounds like a pretty good deal, right?" And maybe they wouldn't be wrong. Others might say, "You ran away from home, but you're still going to the school on your family's money, living completely freely. What right do you have to complain?" And she really couldn't argue that point. But even so, just thinking about returning to the house made her eyes filled with tears. Everything that was precious to her, everything she needed to be herself, her individuality, personality, all such inconvenient baggage would be ruthlessly thrown away. Money and power wore people beyond recognition. Makina knew that all too well. She was simply afraid of that house.
お前の気持ちはわかる。背負うものの大きさを考えれば、誰もができる仕事ではなかろうし、それが恐ろしくもあろう。だが、それゆえに、お前にしかできん仕事でもあるということだ。
嫌だよ、おじいちゃま。 マキナはもう昔のマキナじゃないのよさ。もう昔みたいにはなりたくないのよ。
マジでか。
Uh-oh.
マジだよ。おじいちゃま、ごめんね。もう嫌なの。耐えられないのよさ。
そうか。しかし、そうは言っても
You think they'll forcefully come for her?
だろうな。
I wonder if she'll be taken from the school.
まあ、そうだな。すぐに戻れとは言わん。しばらく考えてみたらどうだ？ 1 年後の自分、10年後の自分、そして30年後の自分がどうなっているかをよーく考えて、それからどうするか決めるといい。
多分おじいちゃまはっていうか宗家の人たちは私のことを諦めてないと思う。
They're not gonna give up on her. We're gonna have a run-in with them eventually. Best be prepared for when that happens.
もしかしたら今回の爆破事件だって私を家に戻すために宗家の人たちが起こしたのかもしれない。
That's an interesting perspective. That could very well be. But if they screwed up even slightly, you could have gotten blown away too.
もし事件を起こしたのが宗家の人たちなら、私があの場に居合わせたのは本当に想定外のことで。
I don't really follow this business with the main family and branch family. And at the end of the day, what are their objectives here? I don't get it.
結局のところ、これは宗家と分家のお家騒動なのよさ。宗家筋直系の私と分家の代表の妹、どっちがイリス家を継ぐかの争いで、あの人たちの目的はお金と権力。
Oh, wow. I'm not familiar with the exact details, but I understand the scale of the prize we're talking about here. The Assyria family's long-standing assets extend to countless subsidiaries, both foreign and domestic. But have you ever heard of like the Mitsubishi brand, you know, like cars and stuff? Yeah, that's like that. It's like a huge family that owns all these, you know, like chemical factories, all sorts of junk. It's crazy. They're not just prominent in industrial manufacturing, financial, and retail, but also major players in iron and steel, shipbuilding, and even armaments. The money flowing through the show apparently rivals the budget of a small country. A pencil made by the Assyria scratches down your name on the birth certificate in a government office. You eat food imported by Assyria in your local school cafeteria as you grow. In time, you find employment in an enterprise under the Assyria umbrella. When you grow sick, you're taken to an Assyria hospital. When you die, you rest in a gravestone manufactured by the Assyria. If you were born in Japan, it's all but impossible not to interact with that family in some way. But despite this astonishingly wide influence, the name Assyria itself will probably get you a blank stare as often as not. The brands in their conglomerate include many household names, but the parent company itself is fairly obscure. They say those with real power don't tend to advertise it, like the old nobility hidden up above the clouds. And Assyria Makina, who stands to inherit that seat at the very top of this lofty house, is still in her teens, practically a child. Who could blame the girl if she panicked in the face of that burden? If she ran away and tried to hide? Your grandfather said you didn't have to come back immediately, didn't he? In that case, seems to me you should start by mulling this over. First of all, whether you're going to return to your family or not. And once that's settled, figure out what you're going to do when you return, or what you're going to do when you refuse. What you really want to do from now on. Your grandpa gave you the chance to deliberate about this, right?
そうだけど、でも、おじいちゃまだっていつまでも待っていてくれるわけじゃないと思うのよ。
Not a problem. I'll get you as much time as you need.
どうやって？
Well, that depends on how they want to play it. I haven't settled on any specific plans yet, but I'm ready to do anything I need to.
なんても
That's right, don't you remember? I made you a promise, Makina. Even if everyone else in the world became your enemy, I'd protect you. Those words weren't just for show. I really will do whatever I possibly can. You don't need to worry about a thing. Just go about your normal life, exactly as you have.
でも
Don't worry, you've given me fair compensation for my services. There's nothing to feel guilty about. You're important enough to me that I was willing to make that promise. Hell, at this point, you've become my purpose in life. I'm living for your sake, and I'll die for your sake. I prepared from that from the start. In conclusion, there's no problem here. I'll kick the crap out of every last jackass stupid enough to harass you. You just sit back and see what a man who's found something to protect can do.
いいのそれでいいの
I'm your father, remember? Showing off in front of our kids like this is what we do. There's nothing a father doesn't know. No problem he can't overcome. In other words, relax and think this over carefully. Whatever your choice, I'll accept it absolutely and support you with everything I've got. Overcome with emotion, even beginning to sob a little, Makina ducks her upper body low to the ground and rushes forward. A split second later, her forehead smacks into my solar plexus with a solid thunk. Ow! To be perfectly honest, the impact is so sharp it's difficult even to breathe properly, but sinking at my knees here would hardly help me keep the girl's hard-worn trust. With an extremely strained attempt at a smile, I grab hold of Makina's fuzzy little head and squeeze her tightly against my chest. Strongly, very strongly, in the protective bear hug of a reliable parent. After that day, I've attempted to stay close by Makina's side as much as possible. I sincerely doubt there'd be many idiots reckless enough to try and pull anything inside the school, essentially a stronghold of the Sakaki family. But preparing for that long shot, what if, is my job. Fortunately, I've been trained in guarding someone without even allowing them to realize they're being protected. The only real problem is night. Without a doubt, human beings are most defenseless when they're sleeping. It's ideal timing for a raid of kidnapping attempt. And even I'm not capable of staying awake constantly to protect the girl as she sleeps. As a single simplest countermeasure, it would be ideal if I could arrange to spend my nights with Makina, but that would not go over well.
今日からパパの部屋でパパと一緒に寝てもいいかな
Caught off guard by this admittedly rather abrupt inquiry, Himane stares intently down into Makina's face for a long moment, then turns her laser-like gaze on me. Makina's expression is unusually serious, with no hint of the standard messing around. And although this would usually be the part where I deliver a karate chop to that well-positioned head of hers, I simply stand quietly behind the girl without raising any objection. Apparently Himane senses something strange in the air. She lets out a long, soft sigh, then nods deeply to herself.
マキナ、あんた自分が何を言っているか、あんたが決めたのなら、私は何も言わない。でも、一度決めたのなら、ちゃんと最後まで頑張るのよ。怖かったり痛かったりしても、途中でやめてって言っちゃダメよ。永遠に続く夜なんてない。必ず朝は来るから、頑張るのよ。頑張るけど。ユージもマキナが痛がってたり苦しんでたりしたら自分の都合ばっかりじゃなくマキナのこともちゃんと考えてあげなきゃダメよ。
Well, yeah, that's the plan.
それとちゃんと否認はするのよ。コンドーム持ってる？
Seriously, Himane, we're going there? I didn't want to go there. Not today. Can I just have one video where that doesn't happen? Okay, Himane, let me return that question from a moment ago. Do you have any idea what you're saying? What? Doesn't cut it, woman. Although it seems there may have been a slight discrepancy in our understanding of the situation, it was agreed that Makina would spend her nights in my room. Regrettably, my room only has one bed, and it's a single. It wouldn't be so bad to huddle together for warmth in the winter, but at the time of the year, the idea is not particularly appealing. Yielding the bed to Makina, I spread out a mat sleeping bag on the floor for myself.
一緒に寝てはくれないのね。
No, I'm good. A little hot for that, don't you think? At my old school. Okay, Phoebe. 10 at night was lights out time, and by 11 they'd cut out the electricity to the dorm off entirely. Even the air conditioners went dead. In other words, I'm really accustomed to sleeping under hot and stuffy conditions, but there's hardly any need to go out of my way to recreate the experience. And also, if by any chance someone really did attack, we'd be better off sleeping at different points in the room. Attack Team A probably leads off by knocking at the door. Just as I'm getting up to reach for the knob, they blast the lock, upper and lower hinges with simultaneously shotgun fire. As I flinch backwards reflexively, Team B crashes in through the window on the opposite side of the room and pincers us both. Doubt I'd be able to hold them off for even 3 minutes, compared to me and Makina huddled together in one bed where we can easily be encircled. Dispersing ourselves on the bed in 4 expands the area that has to be targeted, giving us more options. Alright, time to sleep. Get in bed. Do you want a glass of water or anything before we go to bed? Okay. Mumbling her approval listlessly, Makina turns around to face away from me, then abruptly begins pulling off her clothes on the spot. Okay, After stripping down to her underpants, she takes a big t-shirt, gone all loose in the collar, presumably handing me down from Amani, and pulls it over her head as a sleepwear. It might be a t-shirt to Amani, but Makina has a one-piece dress. Resting a sudden urge to smile, I open my window and drape the towel I used after my shower outside to dry. I carefully position the towel just low enough to hide the bed Makina's crawled into almost completely, and deliberately leave the curtains open. For anyone out there interested in observing this room, this strip of fabric will present a simple hindrance. If the bath towel's position shifts even slightly overnight, it would suggest the existence of someone looking inside. The degree and direction of the movement could even help determine the point from which they're observing us. Quite smart thinking. Basic tricks like this won't often accomplish much against a professional, but a multitude of small insurance policies is the best way to keep things safe and quiet. I'm turning off the lights. A sliver of pale light streams into the room from the streetlights outside. There's no sound but the chirping of insects. Some are far away. The cicadas are still singing. The bright city and warm concrete might have caused them to confuse night with day. I yawn inside my sleeping bag, feeling dull fatigue slowly spreading out from behind my eyes. Going to bed at this hour should mean I'll wake up briefly around 2:30 in the morning. I'll check up on Makina, then go back to sleep for a few hours. What's up? Oh, go to sleep. You want me to read you a bedtime story? Do you have anything specific in mind? Something I want to be, huh? I think this is the first time she's asked me about my future rather than my past. Putting aside the question of whether I'll even have one, it's not like I haven't daydreamed about it every once in a while. But even so, there's a collar on my neck that isn't coming off till I'm dead. Taking that into consideration, the number of paths realistically open to me are severely limited. Let's see, I guess I see myself ending up as a taxi driver, maybe? It's a classic choice for our employees. While spending most of your time working for a private taxi company, you get a minor allowance of 150,000 yen a month as a reserve member, ready to be called up when needed. The jobs open up to an employee on the reserve aren't strictly limited, but ideally they want you in a position where you can respond quickly to an emergency summons. And from that perspective, a taxi driver is probably the best possible option. How about you, Makina? Do you have any ideas about the future? She's speechless. You don't think about the thing with your family. I'm just asking about your dreams. Well, you're going to graduate eventually. Oh, mind let me hear your thoughts? Ah, that's right. She did say something about a sniper or a baker, didn't she?
そのパン屋さんはね、海のそばにあって、喫茶店みたいになってて、焼きたてのパンをお店で食べられるのよ。でね、美浜を卒業した後も、みんなが気楽に来れるお店にしたいのよさ。そうすれ
Aww.
ば、みんないつだって会えるのよ。
There's an idea. If you had a baker like that, I could stop by in my taxi to hang out.
もう、パパには私と一緒にお店をやってほしいのよさ。
Want a part of this too?
そう。私がパンを焼くから、パパはコーヒーとか紅茶を入れる人。
I see. Yeah, I guess that kind of life wouldn't be half bad either.
だろう？きっと毎日が楽しいのよ。ずっとずっと楽しいのよ。
Almost like a dream. Almost like a dream. And with that, I'm going to end the video off here, and I will see you all in the next part. So take it easy, everybody.